everyone, Jeff Mackerlin here, and today I want to talk about one of the most important things that people don't teach or talk about enough, and that is sounding good on your instrument. We can talk about scales, arpeggios, licks, all these sorts of things like that, and that's great, but that doesn't help you sound better on your actual instrument. What I mean by that is producing a nice tone, pleasant to the ears, something that creates music. The thing about music is it's supposed to grab you. When I hear my favorite players, it's their tone. It's the first thing that draws me in. If somebody has a really not a very good tone, not a great sounding hands, I'm not drawn into them. So all my favorite guitar players, whether it's Jeff Beck, David Gilmour, Jimi Hendrix, all these guys sound great when they play the guitar. Mark Knopfler, John Mayer, these guys just have great sounding hands. And that's a really important thing that you can practice and get better at. It's not some sort of thing that comes from the heavens and suddenly you sound great. Maybe some people do, but for the most part, that is not the case. I know I worked really, really hard on it, and I want to talk about that today. So before we get into that, please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps out quite a bit. Also, I'm giving away 16 free backing tracks. You just have to use the link above or below. You can get those for free over at JM Guitar Lessons. And while you're there, you can check out my courses Mastering Major Triads, Mastering Minor Triads, and my upcoming Soloing with Triads Masterclass. All right, so let's get to it. As I was saying, one of the most important things when I hear somebody play is how they sound. What's their hand sound like? That's what brings me in. That's what makes people original. That's what gives them their voice. That's when you can hear someone like, who I love, Mark Knopfler play. Immediately you know it's him by the sound of his guitar. Not the actual physical guitar, the sound of his hands. You hear him playing. You can practice this. So one of the most important things, there are going to be a few elements we could take a look at. So I'm just going to play a C major scale. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play melodies within the C major scale, but I'm going to concentrate on hearing the sound of each note. So I'm trying to create music with each note. I'm just going to play a scale. No vibrato. So instead of going like yelling with the guitar or just not adding any emotion to the notes, you always want to be thinking about how can you impart who you are, what you want to say as a person, as a human being to another human being. You have to work on this, and a great way to work on it, you just play a scale and you focus in on making each note as musical as possible. So what do I mean by that? Well, how can I pick? Where am I picking? The important thing for me is the angle of your pick is very important. You want to experiment with that. For me, I'm cutting down the strings across like this, but 45-degree angle. I'm playing a downstroke. If I play actually perpendicular with my strings, it's a brighter tone. If I angle the pick, perpendicular, a little bit of an angle, it's a lot warmer sounding. So you want to experiment with those things. Am I going to play with the pointed part of my pick or maybe the rounded side of my pick? I'm just going to play long notes. Now, horn players, saxophone players, they practice long notes. They have to develop their sounds from their chest, right, and the support of the breath to get the notes to sound good. Obviously, we have the help of things like amplifiers and overdrive and all that. But I'm still going to hold those notes. Adding some vibrato. As opposed to same idea with some feel and some music. So obviously I changed the rhythm and I did something, I'm just having fun. But the idea is I'm trying to create a melody, I'm trying to create music on the fly. I'm improvising something out of the key of C major. What this also helps you do is to be able to play in C major or anything. You're starting to hear melodies. When you're just playing scales up and down, you sometimes don't hear those melodies. Or even if you're just practicing thirds, which is important, even I'm practicing that slowly. As opposed to, or super softly. I'm adding emotion. So how am I adding that emotion? Well, I am using pick dynamics. That's a big part of it. I talk about this a lot on the channel. If I'm speaking to you right now, I'm not talking to you at this monotone thing at the same volume. When you want to make a point, the note goes up on your voice a bit, or the level comes in. You speak dynamically. So when I'm playing even a C major scale, and I can do something very specific. I'm just going to accentuate my downbeats. I'm playing eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3. I can hit those downbeats harder. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and right? So I think I hit an upbeat there, but you get the idea. I'm just playing with the rhythm and the accents of the notes. So I'm going to just randomly accentuate notes. Just got to create a melody on the fly. So I can do something like that. Now where's I want to go? So by listening to the scale, where does the scale want to go? Where does this music want to take you? I'm not ripping, I'm not playing licks, I'm working out of a scale, but I'm not ripping. You know what I mean? It's not licks, I'm not trying to copy anything. I am just trying to randomly create music on the guitar, even in one position. So the only way you're going to find those resolutions, those really kind of pretty notes, those beautiful notes that carry you to generate these melodies, is to experiment. We could talk about that last thing there, like this, played a G, sort of G major, try it a bit, and resolved it to the C. We could do that. Then that's important, and those are things you want to think about, and I have courses that explain those things, but it's the experimentation of just hearing. I'm hearing the C sound. You hear the sounds of New York behind me. So, right? You heard that pull. So, I let that ring and I just resolved. A little bit of cadence, slowed it down. Just trying to create music. I'm just going to improvise freely across the fingerboard. I'm not going to edit. This is what I'm playing, is what you're going to see. With the horns. So just by experimenting, I'm feeling where notes go. I'm feeling natural motion of music. I'm immersing myself in the sound of the scale and the guitar. I am not thinking about playing fast. I'm not thinking about chops. I'm not thinking about anything other than, there's a traffic jam. I'm not thinking about anything other than generating music. It's, it's such a freeing thing for me when I get back to, I'm susceptible to all the crazy guitar playing that exists on the internet as well. But the people who move me the most are the ones who are expressing some sort of emotion. Our job as musicians is to draw something out of people, to share a shared experience of life and music. And it sounds kind of corny, but it's not. That's what it's all about. What your favorite tunes get you going, your favorite guitar solos, your favorite horn player, your favorite singer. They're in connection with something. And you can make that connection if you take the time and if you believe you can, right? There's nothing that stops anybody to go, where do I want to go? I'm having repeated rhythmic ideas. Maybe I'll make that my idea. I'm going to play a C major pentatonic scale, and I'm going to use that repeated motif. Ba, 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 ba. Right, that rhythm. Just C major pentatonic. And to really dig in, really experiment with the instrument. It's such a beautiful instrument. And I think we get so overwhelmed with gear and what amp we're using or what pedals we're using. And this can be done on acoustic guitar. And this is one of those things when you hear a really great guitar player play, and they can play any guitar and they end up sounding like them. It's because the sound is in your hands. And that sounds like a cliche, but it's totally true. It is a cliche because it's true. But the main thing is that I'm telling you that you can work on this. I didn't always sound as good as I do, humbly, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I've worked really hard to make a good sound out of the instrument, a pleasant tone. Because my favorite players have control over their instrument. And this is really what we're getting at here, right? You're learning how to control the instrument. You're learning how to evoke and emote from your instrument. Any great blues player, any great rock player. I mentioned David Gilmour, an all-time favorite. Certainly him as an example. Jeff Beck, my favorite guitar player ever. Robin Ford, Michael Landau, all the fusion-y guys like that. Someone like John Mayer. Anybody who we look up to as usually a great guitar player who's not just a technician has these things. I'm not going to name some of the people who are guitar players who are mainly technicians who I feel lack these things. They don't have a great tone. They might have great technique, but to me, they don't have a nice, warm feeling, something that doesn't drag. They don't have something that drags me in and wants to hear it. So you can do it. Just spend time. Experiment with different picks. Use your fingers. Here, I'm just going to play with my thumb. What do I get out of my thumb? Now I'm going to use my pick. So I'm always trying to make a connection between me and the instrument and hopefully between me and the audience. It's a fun thing to do, and I find it to be very, very, very freeing because it puts aside all the other stuff, and I feel like it gets to the core of what music is for us as humans. It's a connection to this other thing, this core thing. Like, you know, I think you play that for someone who's never heard something like that, or when you hear Indian music and there's a connection. I mean, it's a different scale, it's a different kind of background, but we understand it. We understand music from any other culture pretty much, and there's beauty to be found in it, and it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It just doesn't land, you know, Sometimes it does, but if you're talking about being a person who wants to get this out through their instrument, it does require practice. And you just simply work on practice sounding good. Well, thanks for checking this out, and I hope this helped you in some way. It's not always about shredding or licks or scales, and sometimes, well, all the time, music is about connecting with other people. So let's work on that. Until next time, please check out JM Guitar Lessons. You can get those free backing tracks I talked about at the top of the video. Please like and subscribe, and until the next time, I will see you guys later.